You're listening to Artistic Finance, show 168 bonus. On today's show, we talk with Amanda Carradine, the lighting director for Eastside Christian Church in California. We discuss being a church LD, saving for inevitable slow seasons, determining rates for freelance gigs, and finding stability in a production career. Links to everything we discuss is in the show notes or at artisticfinance.com/168 bonus. The episode is in partnership with LDI as we lead up to the conference and our live recording there. If you're available and can get to Vegas, it would be super cool to see you there. We're recording December 8th at 11 a.m. and you can get a free show floor pass by registering at ldishow.com and using the code Artistic Finance. All one word, all caps. Without further ado, let's get to the show.
You are listening to Artistic Finance, where we help creatives learn about the business of show business.
Welcome and thank you for listening. I'm your host, Ethan Steimel, broadcasting from Lake St. Louis, Missouri.
And I'm Ellen Lampert-Gréaux, the creative director for LDI, and I'm calling in from the tropical island of St. Bart's.
And I'm Amanda Carradine, and I am located in sunny Southern California near Anaheim, California.
Well, it's great to have you with us today, Amanda. And I know that you are a lighting designer and you've been involved in theaters, theme parks, cruise ships, broadcast, conference, corporate, all kinds of stuff. How did you sort of segue over to being the lighting designer for Eastside Christian Church?
My journey, I'll call it a journey with lighting, has been a really interesting one. I never directly thought I'd go into technical production. I was a dancer in college, and we had to do production just on the side to fill the crews. So they had all the dancers choose a crew to be on, and my best friend and I chose lighting. She thought that was a really interesting one to choose. And side note, 15 years later, now we're both still working professionally in lighting. So kind of funny how that turns out. So I started just taking side jobs after learning about lighting in college, just helping one of my mentors light a lot of shows in college theater. And from there, I realized how much I really enjoyed it. I love the design. I love the hands-on installing, focusing. I love literally every aspect of that. So I decided to pursue that as a career path. And rather than just finishing in school, which I knew was an option too, I decided to just jump into the industry and get more experience. So from there, I went to Knott's Berry Farm, the theme park out here in California. Got about a year and a half of experience there. That was a lot of fun. It's probably one of my most enjoyable tech jobs, just being in the park and working on different shows in the morning. I had a lot of fun with that one. And then from there, I met one of the designers who was working on one of our shows there, who designed for cruise ships. I didn't even know that that was a career option. You know, I'm really young here. I was probably 19, 20 at the time. And I'm like, wow, you get to travel the world and do lighting at the same time. And so from there, I went and I did cruise ships for 2 years, working for Carnival all over. A lot of fun, very adventurous. I had just turned 21 too, so put a 21-year-old on a ship and see if that's a good idea. But yeah, I got to travel, which was a lot of fun. It was a really good training experience because on most ships, you're the only lighting tech and you have 7 or 8 venues. You're doing all the maintenance yourself. You're designing for fly-on acts. You just get thrown into the deep end, which was a great experience for me. From there, I went on to Disneyland in Anaheim, California. That was kind of like what I saw as the pinnacle of my career. That was my goal, you know, living near Anaheim. I grew up watching parades and shows, and that was just my dream career at the time. Working on Fantasmic was probably my favorite thing. I worked on that one back when we had FILO spots that were on the towers. They don't do that anymore, unfortunately. And then at that point, I was probably about 25 just about to get married, just about to start settling down in life. And I didn't see a long-term career in production. So I decided to leave production. And I didn't think, honestly, I would ever come back. I was like, I would need something more stable for having a family, starting a family. So I spent about 5 years away from production. In that time, I got a degree in child development, thinking that maybe I would become a teacher, something just more stable. It's kind of hard to find at times in our industry is stability. And that's what I think of immediately when I think of your podcast of just gigging. I have a lot of friends that just gig, and I did not like that life of, trying to find the next thing, always trying to make sure you have enough financial independence for what you needed to do. But then life took a turn. I unfortunately got divorced after I had 2 kids. Was honestly just looking for a church to attend, going through a lot of questioning in my life. And then I found Eastside Christian Church out here near Anaheim. A few weeks after I got there, I decided I wanted to volunteer. I missed production. Church production is a thing that I don't even know existed before coming to a larger church. As soon as I started volunteering, their lighting guy left. And I saw that door open. And I was like, man, is that a door that I want to walk through? I don't know anything about doing lighting in a church. I love lighting. I think it's like my one true career passion. So about 6 months later, I joined the staff, and I've been on staff for 5 years this month in October. And I have loved it more than any other production job I've ever had. I love the stability of it. I love that there's always new challenges. We're a multi-site church, so we're constantly growing. I've added campus after campus. We're at 7 campuses right now. And so I just oversee every aspect of lighting on every campus, all of our volunteers, all of our contractors, the whole thing. And I just love every minute of it.
So would you say in your experience that you are good, bad, or neutral with money?
I think that's like a two-sided thing for me. I think I'm good on the side of making sure I have a stable income and being able to supplement that with other projects. I do work for a broadcast network also on the side just to kind of add to finances. Being a single mom, I need a lot. Kids are expensive. So I think I'm good on that end, but I do think I could be better because I like food and most of my budget goes to eating out. If I could just buy a personal chef, then I think I'd be taken care of on that end.
Yeah, it's hard to be a full-time working mother and cook at the same time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And if there's one thing that I just want to take off my plate, it's the cooking.
Right. So if you do freelance or gig, how do you approach pricing for your work and services?
So I do a bit of freelance. I like, taking extra projects when I can. And I kind of divide that in 2 different ways, depending on my client. I understand that in our industry, we need to have pretty high standard for our knowledge and our excellence and our expertise. So we should price respectful of that. We're respectful of people who gig full time. So I definitely price higher on kind of industry events, conferences, corporate side, broadcast side. I price higher on that side versus where I try to help out other churches. I have a passion for helping out other churches that can't afford full-time lighting people or even part-time lighting people. I just actually worked with a church that was like, we reached out to a couple AV companies in our area and we can't afford anybody. And we're reaching out to you because you're our last chance of like, maybe, you can help us. You work in a church, that churches can't really afford it sometimes. So I price lower on that end for churches and nonprofits just so they can have a better experience. I try to still be fair for myself and for my time, but I also try to help out people where I can.
So is there a big financial lesson you've learned in your career so far that sort of helps guide you?
I think it's good to know that slow seasons happen, and we can't always predict them. And I feel like we're in a slower season right now, at least for broadcast, TV, film. So like trying to have savings when you have a good season, just trying to put some of that away because that slow seasons will happen in our industry.
So how do you navigate those slower times?
Thankfully, it doesn't hit me too hard because I do have like a full-time stable income that is coming from lighting right now. I mean, slower times, you can only do so much. You can try to pick up side work. I've DoorDash, I've done Instacart on the side if I have to. Being a mom, you have to do whatever you have to do to get by. I worked at Target for a season. We have to find jobs outside the industry to help support our dreams and our career at times.
Do you use any specific tools or resources in managing the financial aspects of your career?
Yeah, I am a big budgeter. I think that budgets are so important, especially like on my end where I see something shiny and I want it, or I decided I really just need to eat out at a restaurant. So I actually have one of those Excel budget spreadsheets that I try to follow. And I think that that's really helpful in just seeing where you are, where your income is versus where you thought it might be for the month. And then, what you can actually afford versus what you want.
On that Excel file, did you pull that from the internet or did you make that up? Where'd that come from?
I pulled it from the internet. It was advertised to me on Instagram, honestly. I can't remember who the creator was, but yeah, it was color coded, beautiful. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Does it have a column for retirement savings?
It does. Yeah.
And are you any good at that?
I'm not great at thinking about retirement right now because I feel like in this season, I need more of it now, I'm not that old. I'm 33, so I'm not close to retirement. I know that at this age I should be thinking about it and should be planning for the future, but yeah, I could definitely do better on that end.
Yeah. Every time you see that shiny thing you want, put the money in that account. Take it from the wise. So it sounds like you're pretty good at networking and relationship building. It's like you sort of went from one thing to another. So has that impacted your financial and career growth in any way?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely this industry is a lot about who you know and the relationships you make and how well you are at working with other people. People spread the word about, oh, I know this person and these are their skills and they'd be great on this project. I think a lot of it is word of mouth. And I think that just having, like such a great attitude towards working with others and not, thinking too much of yourself really helps with that.
Exactly.
Awesome. Can I ask a question just because you were talking about seasons, slow seasons and all that. And this is just me not knowing, but you're full time at the church. Could you survive on just the church gig, even though it's a full-time gig?
Yes, I could. Because I have the job where it's such a high position in the church because I am overseeing so many campuses just by myself. I'm at a director level. I could survive just off of the church.
Yeah. Does that job come with a good benefits package?
It does, and I'm really thankful for that. Yeah, I get health care for me and my kids. They actually do have a retirement match. So those are good.
That's great.
Amanda, you're speaking at LDI. What are you speaking about? And then what are you wanting people to take away from that?
So I'm kind of having a little bit of a broad subject that I'm going to talk about. The title is Lighting and Special Effects, Ensuring Continuity and Elevating Worship for Multi-Site and Broadcast Churches. So that kind of touches on a couple things that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about multi-site churches having a common look and feel. When you go to a multi-site church, if you go to more than one campus, I believe that they should feel the same. I believe it's kind of like a brand. You go to a McDonald's, they look like a McDonald's. You go to one of church campuses, it should look the same. That way, you can invite friends in other cities and they can know what to expect. So I like that our church has continuity. We try really hard to have that continuity. So it's not just, we don't know what we're expecting on a production level. We have it kind of really locked in on a production level. And then another side on that is broadcast quality. Being able to work in broadcast has given me a lot of knowledge to be able to share with the church industry, which doesn't always have that experience. A lot of people who work in churches, that's where they got their experience. So being able to bring in outside experiences and help guide other people in the church is just a really cool thing that I get to share with them. I spoke at FILO, which is First and Last Out. It's basically a conference just for church technical artists. That one's a really cool conference as well because they help train people who maybe their only experience is working in the church. And then the other side, which is just my extra fun side, is special effects. I love special effects. I got to do pyro on cruise ships. I don't do pyro in a church, sadly, but I do try to incorporate whatever I can, whether that's confetti, fog, disco balls. I've done the whole gamut there.
That's awesome. I mean, I feel like pyro belongs there somewhere because like the devil flames.
I think it does too, I don't think I can ever get my insurance to understand that need there.
That's amazing. All right, aside from your speaking session at LDI, just on a personal level, what are you looking forward to doing while you're there?
I love being able to connect with people all across the country. That is one of my favorite things. I feel like we're often very on our own when we're at work. Like, sure, we might have a crew or a team we're working with, but being able to connect with other people who do the same thing, other lighting designers, directors across the country is definitely my favorite part of that.
Amanda, it was fantastic meeting you, and I hope I get to meet you at LDI. I'll make a point to it. I'll hunt you down. I mean, I'll find you. I'll find you.
We should have an artistic finance get together.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Great. I look forward to meeting you as well. And thank you so much again, for submitting your session and we get a chance to meet you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
That's it for this episode. My takeaways are stability. Amanda found a stable job in the entertainment industry. Now, this isn't something unusual. There are lots of them out there. However, you have to find one that works for you, and Amanda seemed to have found a great one. I love that it is in a church, which means not only does Amanda have her spiritual community there, she also has the production life community around her too. So on this show, I've often mentioned how theater is a calling or compared to a calling. Now, I don't like that phrase because calling usually implies something that's sort of outside of rational capitalism, meaning it's what we say to justify being underpaid or overworked or something like that. A calling also implies something bigger than us, which is great. I'm down with that feeling, but it also removes our responsibility for the situation, which isn't fair. It's why phrases exist like God helps those who help themselves to remind us to take initiative and self-agency. Anyway, all that clarification about calling and that to say that I love that Amanda has two callings, the church calling and the production and event calling. Slow times, they happen. Even in Amanda's job, where she has full-time work, she works outside gigs for income. And when those gigs stop, it's time to live leaner or find other work. So DoorDash, Instacart, Target, whatever we have to do to get the job done. I'm reminded of during COVID when I was in a New Jersey warehouse with a bunch of other stagehands and stage managers, lighting designers, programmers, musicians, and we were all packing swag bags for Google on an overnight shift. Now, not a single person said, "Oh, this stinks that we can't get into a theater right now." No, we're all part of the industry, and that requires, by default, wearing multiple hats and code switching when needed. And Amanda not only taps into the industry resiliency, but also the parenting resiliency, which is we do what we need to do. Not a complaint, not a grudge, nothing, just we got to take care of the kids and we're doing it. And that brings me to my next takeaway, which is parenting. Single mom with two kids. So if you've listened to this show, you know that I'm overwhelmed with one kid, and it's me and Nicole who are raising him. And even though we've moved near family, it is still a challenge. So I love that Amanda is succeeding in life and career and raising two kids just on the side. Baller. Anyway, when she was talking about the side freelance gigs, all I could think is, where does she find the time to light church and go get supplemental income? And part of that answer might lie in the fact that the main job is stable and consistent. But the other part of finding the time and keeping track of the kids is something that I am wildly impressed by. Networking. Just like the rest of the entertainment industry, church lighting is about who you know. It's a given that you have to know Jesus, hey, but additionally, you have to be getting involved to meet the people that are doing the thing. And something Amanda said is a given, but let's not forget it. Bringing a positive attitude and being a good person to work with are how you strengthen your connections with colleagues. Now, obviously, just from our half an hour chat, Amanda is a kind and fun person to be around. So bringing that energy to work and to networking is what keeps her working, and it will do the same for you. Tied into that, we've been harping on the show about showing up, which is how you get work and stay connected. In Amanda's career, notice she showed up on a cruise ship and then she stopped showing up. And when that happened, she didn't work in production for 5 years. Then by happenstance, she arrived at a church where an opportunity presented itself. So she showed up. It didn't matter that she had taken 5 years off. It didn't matter that she didn't know how church lighting worked. She showed up. She took the devil by the horns, if you will. I can't help myself. And she has been showing up since. FILO, that's first in, last out, a conference that I would call the LDI of church tech and design. So if you're listening and you're interested in working lighting or sound at a church, check out that conference. Maybe LDI being in Vegas is a little too Sin City for you. And actually, without looking it up, I'm just guessing that FILO is in Salt Lake or some family-oriented place like that. But I'm not going to look it up because I don't want to be wrong. But anyway, I'll put a link to FILO in the show notes if you are interested in that. All right, those are my takeaways. I'm very grateful for you listening. Spending this hour with Amanda and Ellen and I is something that you didn't have to do, but I'm so glad that you did. If you haven't listened to our archive of episodes, you haven't heard me charge the fee for listening. Now that fee is to tell somebody about the show. I've never advertised this show, and so just like networking, it only gets listened to when people hear about it from people they know. So if you can share an episode on social media or text it to a friend, I would be eternally grateful. Eternally sounds sort of like a lot. I would be grateful. I don't know about eternally. Anyway, if that's not your style, you can send financial support by becoming a patron. That keeps things running, and I'd love for you to join us. Join the fold, if you will. Do that at patreon.com/artisticfinance. The dad joke to end the episode. Why do financially savvy church lighting designers love the parable of the mustard seed, in which Jesus points out that a tiny seed can grow into a huge plant? It's because these financially savvy church lighting designers know that a tiny investment can grow into a huge retirement, and a tiny light can brighten a whole theater. That's it for today. Until next time, break a leg.
Thank you for listening to Artistic Finance, where we interview successful artists, leaders, and investors to help educate and inspire the creative community. To access our show notes and resources, go to artisticfinance.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any decision, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Artistic Finance. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.